This is the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching and publishing services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Cory Shepherd, author of Cape Not Required. Cory, welcome to the show.
Well, hello, Paul, and thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All right, you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
So I would say spend twice the time drafting that you thought you needed, and you'll end up spending half the time writing that you think it would take. And as I look back at writing my first book, I would have spending a lot more time on the drafting stage, on really creating that structure, like the framing of a house that I could build a really solid book around, would have saved me a lot of time and redrafting in the final stages and gotten me to my end goal a lot quicker.
Excellent. And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I think the hardest part is just understanding the world of publishing if you've never been in it. Before I went and figured out how to get a book out, like a lot of people, I thought that you had to spend a huge amount of money or get an agent or do any of these kind of things. And while you can certainly take that route, there's lots of other ways to get it done on your own, but there's lots of different things to know. So I think that getting someone who's done it ahead of time, that knows a thing or two in advance, can really help anyone who's looking to publish a book. I wouldn't just dive into it as a first timer unless you really think you want to spend, make it your full-time job for a few years. Just get some help and you'll go a lot faster.
So you're talking about getting coaching, that type of support?
Getting coaching, I found a program by someone who had done a lot of publishing in the past and got to listen to that and get some inside knowledge about what things that I would have never thought of. You don't even know what you don't even know if you've never been in that world before. So yeah, getting a coach is huge.
Yeah, I agree. It's one thing I always tell my clients is when you have a coach, you're paying for acceleration and you're investing with someone who has a proven system that's developed it, because, I had to learn it myself the hard way. And then once I created my own systems, I was able to help people, and it speeds up the process so much when it comes to that. In regards to marketing though, what would you say is something that you could share with our audience that would be really helpful in your view?
So there's two ways that you can think about it for marketing. You can either be an author that wants to market your book to sell as many copies as possible, or you might be an author because you want to use it for marketing your other businesses, or a little bit of both. So as a financial advisor, I'm the president of Sound Financial Group and author of my book, along with a podcast called Sound Financial Bites. So we do a lot of media work in our firm, and one of the things I wanted to do is publish a book that would be the best business card that a financial advisor ever had. So you may not want to sell a bunch of books for the sake of selling the books, in which case, for me and my clients, I said, who is someone that we could give a gift to together, a copy of this book, because I think they'd really, really enjoy it. And of course, I already gave the client a copy so they knew that it was a great book. On the other side, for just selling books or getting the book out there on its own, one of the first things I did was, MailChimp is a great service for developing an email list, sending out emails that's free while you're starting, while you have a low amount of names on your list, and then scales up and you can start paying for it when you have enough people that it's worthwhile to pay for it. So I had a mail campaign for my inner circle of people, the top, 50 people that I'm closest to, and about the top 200 that would answer the phone anytime I called, sent them a copy of my ebook and said, please read this, and here's the link on Amazon. Buy a hard copy if you think it's great, or send it to someone else that you think would enjoy it. So that initial burst can be a great piece of your launch strategy, which I know you talk a lot more about in some of your books, Paul. like how to develop that whole launch strategy, that can be a nice little extra boost for folks in the early days of the book.
Well, and you bring up two great points. The first one with utilizing that business card, that book as the business card. And I'll give you an example. I was actually at an event today at the Chamber of Commerce. It's every month, and it's called Business Over Breakfast. And what I did was during that time after the event, I had 3 one-on-ones with prospective clients, and it just makes such a big difference when you give them an autographed paperback copy of your book with your cell phone number below it and go, hey, I can't wait to work with you. And for each of those 3 prospective clients, it's exactly what I did. And the last one I sat with, I asked her, I said very simply, what do you think's more effective? Me just giving you a card and say, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you, or here's my book. It's called Get Published. It's an autographed copy for you, and my number's there. Whenever you're ready, let me know. I can't wait to start working with you.
I think that that's great. Nothing from my side as part of a financial firm to be able to say, hey, here is this book. Maybe we're not the right advisor for you, but take a look around, take a look at this other firm and read their book. Oh wait, they haven't written a book? Oh, bummer. No, I've never actually said that to anyone, but it does build credibility in a way that like almost nothing else can, to have that book.
Absolutely. I think the one main word about that is authority. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you bring up another great point that I wanted to mention too, and that is talking about building up your Raven fans, so to speak. You talk about if there's 50 to 100, because you've heard of this principle. It's not about the size of your list. It's about having those 1,000 Raven fans that are
Yeah.
always going to support you every time you have a new product out or a new book launch. And it's just using that principle, and it seems like you utilize that really well, Cory.
Yeah, I think that in this world of the internet, there's more competition than ever before, but there's more access to markets than ever before. And you don't need to own, the whole nation in a category. We just need the category that fits the 1,000 people that are going to be your biggest fans, and all your dreams come true from there.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, let's transition a little bit. I want to actually ask you about your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
I mean, gosh, you're killing me with this one, Paul. Asking what my favorite book is like, what's the favorite breath of oxygen that I've had in my life? Well, I mean, all of them are pretty cool in their own right, and they're all pretty necessary. So, one that comes to mind just as part of this conversation is Success Principles by Jack Canfield. So, for folks who might recognize that name, they'll definitely recognize Chicken Soup for the Soul, the greatest, private publishing story in history. Books sold of all time. It's like the Bible, the Quran, and Chicken Soup for the Soul. So amazing story. And then he comes out with this book, Success Principles. So number one, goes to show that the title's not always everything. If you're Jack Canfield, you can put out a book that's got a pretty mundane title and people will still go for it. But you got to be Jack Canfield before you can get away with that. But that book has so many different life lessons and disciplines and just ideas for how to live a more effective life and reach towards the aims that we have, that it's worth an annual review for me, just to see the things that I've forgotten since the last time that I read it.
And out of all those things that you read in there, what was the number one thing that you learned from that book in particular?
So one of my favorites was to create a wins list. It's really easy, you see news on TV and on your phone is always negative. It's easy to get down into this negative mind space and sometimes feel like, things aren't going very well. But you make a list of your top 100 wins. And they can be small. They can be, you won a basketball game in third grade. You got the part in the play in fourth grade. You asked someone special out for a date in high school. You got the job right out of college. It's amazing how quickly you can come up with a list of wins, so that when things are down or you feel like life's not working well, you go review that list and you're like, oh, no, I can't say nothing's working for me. Like, I've gotten all these wins so far. I can keep going. I can get back to it. So that's been huge for me.
Nice. Yeah, my third book was called Positivity Attracts, and one of the main things I talk about in that book is obviously waking up on the right note, but also focusing on the positives and those things that, I think the best thing that happens when you wake up in the morning is, one, you wake up. That's a win right
Right.
there. Just
It's a
people that
win
don't
right
wake
there.
up.
Yeah. That's True.
You know, and I have sleep apnea, so I'm always happy when I wake up in the morning. But it's just, you know, it's a great perspective that you have with that, because you're right. A lot of things, and especially media driven and all different outlets, is they focus more on the negative versus the positive. It's one of those things where you have all these great things happen, but you have the one negative thing happen to you. And what's the thing you focus on? You think of the negative versus the positive, which is so much more. And I think that also translates into imposter syndrome, and with people that are trying to get their books out, that are worrying about it, that are worried about that one negative review. So it stops them from actually getting the book out there, versus realizing, hey, 9 out of 10 reviews are going to be great. Focus on those. You know what I'm saying?
I wholeheartedly agree. It's like when you hear celebrities talk about the fact that they never look themselves up online, the smart ones, because they hear nothing but that, you know, the one negative comment will drown out all the positive ones for them.
Yep.
So they try not to listen to all that. So yeah, even if it's, you know, one positive comment out of all those negatives, you made a difference in that one person's life, which is more than a lot of people have done in the world, especially with a book.
Absolutely. Well, Cory, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
So our website, sfgwa.com, that stands for Sound Financial Group, and WA because Washington State is where our firm started. So sfgwa.com is a great, or on LinkedIn as well. Cory Shepherd.
All right, Cory. Well, I want to thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
My pleasure, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.